Alright, so I just finished season 4 of You, and this is what I have to say about it. Season 4 of You is a whodunit, in the first part at least, with a confusing plot that gets answered by the end and has a relieving, overall good, conclusive ending to the season for the most part. Season 4 starts out with Joe having moved to France? England? I already forgot. I think part 1 of season 4 was very forgettable, to say the least. And the fact that they split it up by a month does not help, because part 2 of season 4 is definitely the stronger half of the show. So to split it up, it was a poor mistake on their part. All I know is he moved after killing off 90% of the remaining cast, actually 99, leaving Marianne and himself. Had followed her and found her finally, only to let her go, kind of. Realize that he will no longer have a future with her, so he tries to live out his life in this new place of his, new surrounding, new people, start over, start fresh. He gets in with this group of millionaires, basically rich people. It goes well up until the lady that he's been spying on from across his way, her husband dies. He finds the dead body on his table. He knows he didn't do it. He's convinced he didn't do it, so he's trying to figure out who's done it. And this goes on for a while. A bunch of kills happen inside the friend group until he realizes that it was the mayor who hates rich people. That's basically the gist of part 1. He's a teacher now, and he has a student who teaches him about whodunits, only to be on his ass later on about whodunit. Part 2 explores more into why the mayor is killing people. The mayor's final victim for him is Kate, the woman he's been spying on, who he fell in love with but refused to indulge in it until he finally gave in. The mayor tells him to kill her father. He agrees, and so he goes and finds her father, when her father gives him a proposition to, and tells him exactly where Reese is staying, the mayor, to kill him instead. And Joe takes it, and he goes and he finds Reese, the mayor, and he kills him. Reese had threatened to kill Marianne, who he let go, obviously, but a hitman told Joe that he needed to kill Marianne to cover up all the bad stuff that came with changing his life, giving him a new name and all this. Someone who was connected to Love's family told him he needed to kill Marianne. And so instead, he snatched her necklace off her at the train station when she was leaving, after having a man bump into her, used that as photo evidence as she got on the train and left. But in reality, before she could get on the train, Reese snatched her up and shoved her in a cage, like Joe has. Won't give the location, so he ball tortures him into giving the location of Marianne, until finally Joe snaps and just kills Reese without finding the location. And then Reese becomes his second personality that he talks to for the rest of the season, because Reese wasn't the killer. Joe was. The entire season, Joe had been losing his goddamn mind. Joe was the eat the rich killer, they called him in the show, who was killing all the rich people in the friend group, obviously because they all started dying after he showed up. Reese was his final victim after begging to know where Marianne was, because he pinned this all on him. He basically became a lunatic. After he killed Love, left her for a burning house, he became a lunatic. He became psychotic, schizophrenic even. He was seeing things. He was making things up in his mind. I'm not really sure when he completely went balls to the wall and lost his shit, but he went balls to the walls and lost his shit. As he's trying to figure out in his own mind what he's done with Marianne and cope with the fact that he's been the killer the whole time, his student who was on to him, who taught him about the whodunits, found Marianne in the cage that Joe has always had in a abandoned building. She figured it out by snooping through his stuff. So Marianne and the student make a plan to get Marianne out of there alive, which they do successfully end up doing by faking her death, which panics Joe after he finds her, which gets Joe to drop off the body in the forest, where she revives Marianne and is able to get her home safely to her kid. But the problem is Joe doesn't know that she's still alive, so he thought she was dead and couldn't live with himself, so he decides to jump off a bridge, killing himself. Just kidding, he lives. Before he decides to kill himself, he has to off one more person, which is Kate's father, the one who told him to kill Reese, because he knows too much. He's bad to Kate, and he still has love for Kate, so kills him, frames it on the bodyguard who he also killed, and then jumps off a bridge, and Kate saves him. he thinks that this is his calling and this is his time to restart, so he decides to kill his student's boyfriend who was snooping on him by slitting his throat and then blaming it on the student who was also snooping on him. Ariane is alive by the end, but doesn't say anything so she can live with her daughter. Stay out of it, honestly. They have Joe as a hero who survived the killing of his wife, and him and Kate move away together. I guarantee you there will be a season 5. If you didn't understand anything I just explained, it's okay, because me explaining it in the confusing way is just as confusing as the show was. I basically went over everything that was important. Overall, I think part 1 was very, very forgettable, but interesting at the most part. Part 2 is where they really got me, and I was very hooked in because I could kind of tell. I had an idea that it was Joe, but I thought, like, you know, part of me thought maybe he was really reformed. Maybe he was going to be the new hero and he was done being surrounded by killers, but what do you know? Part 1 gets a meh out of 10 from me, and part 2 gets a what the fuck just happened out of 10 from me. The problem is they just need to figure out storytelling a little better, because this season did not do it very well as past seasons have.